Not quite a cup final, but you get the feeling defeat today would spell the end of Gloucester's Premiership challenge.
So the Saracens side then, and once again for them, it has been a season, as you've been hearing, dominated by injury. Not an excuse, but certainly a factor in their plight towards the bottom. The front row, and it's Sparks and Parks at 1 and 2. Steve and James, and then at tight head, the experience of South African international Kobus Visaki. Simon Raoului is captain. No Saracens player has been on the field more than him this season. Craig Yandel, his second row partner. The back row, great relief for all here. The return of Richard Hill from England duty, and Ben Russell at number 7, a man who did win a Grand Slam this season for England in the under-21 tournament. And then at number 8, it's Chris Chesney. Scrum half is Canadian Morgan Williams. He signed a new deal this week to stay here. Nicky Little is at fly half after a 3-game ban for striking an opponent. Kevin Sorrell and Ben Johnson combine in the centre. Top-class Premiership pairing there. On the wing, it's Paul Bailey, another to sign a fresh contract after his debut first season. Just signed that contract. And Adrian Winner, normally a full-back, but no Richard Horton today. He's again away with the Sevens. And at full-back, it's Robbie Kidd, the man who joined from Bath earlier in the season. Now, Gloucester, as you will now see, welcome back their big guns, and they don't get much bigger than Trevor Woodman and Phil Vickery. England's World Cup winning props, and Chris Forty is more meat in this beefy sandwich, which doesn't seem to have any bread. And you can see Vickery and Woodman either side. Fearsome trio. Adam Eustace and Alex Brown are the locks. Brown has 76 Premiership appearances in a row, closing in on the all-time record there. Jake Bohr is behind them. He's the captain. And another to announce a fresh deal this week. He'll be 7 years at the club at the end of his next contract, which he's just signed. Andy Hazel back in. Interesting selection there with the European Cup in mind next week. And at number 8, it's Junior Paramore. Andy Gummersall, another returnee, a very important player in the Gloucester scheme of things. Ditto for fly half Duncan McRae, who comes back to his former club. Henry Poore and Terry Fanalua, the centres. And back on the wings, where Gloucester suffered in comparison to Sale last week, it's James Simpson, Daniel and Marcel Garvey. That means Rian van der Berg can play in his preferred position at full-back. John Goodridge out injured with a hamstring problem. There's one of the injured players for Saracens, Thomas Castagned. But on the bench, one of the non-selected players, Kieran Bracken, retired from international rugby, but he's just been awarded his Saracens testimonial. For Gloucester, Robert Todd, suffering from a stomach virus this week, but OK to start on the bench. So they're the two teams, and Gloucester arrive here in Watford with the words of Nigel Melville ringing in their ears. Rod Kafer, he's thinking about the future as much as this season. For Gloucester, it's all about these next few games. Nigel Melville said that his team must win, in his opinion, their 4 remaining matches in order to qualify for the top 3. A comment born out of that defeat to Sale last week, which, coupled with Northampton's win over Saracens, has put Gloucester on the back foot in the table and needing to be right on the front foot today. This is a very big match for the Gloucester side. Make no mistake.
Yeah, they will be looking to be on the front foot. They will be looking for penetration. But you see the man who held the door open for Gloucester when they came out of the change room. That was Dave Ellis, the man responsible for the French defensive system. Last week against Sale, Gloucester were awry in attack and defence, leaking far too many tries. They will look to go for the bonus points today, but they will look to base the win on a very solid defence.
Yes, another thing that Nigel Melville said, we offered 4 turnovers to Sale, and he was absolutely right in that. Not one of Gloucester's best defensive nights. Now here comes Saracens, Simon Raoului. And their owner Nigel Ray has opened the chequebook again, this time for his new coaching team of Rod Kafer, who's been here all season, and the latest arrival, Steve Diamond from Sale. And there's no big talk of a European wildcard here. It's still a possibility mathematically, but it's more of building for next season. Signings being made seemingly daily, and some of these players are not just on the field today for league points, but to impress, to be part of the future here. They're playing for their livelihood, some of these players.
Yeah, and that really does offer an opportunity and a threat to the players. It's an opportunity to go out to Rod Kafer and Stevie Diamond and say, you can't let us go. But it's a threat to Saracens, because if the players feel constricted and nervous, then they could freeze, even though it's Gloucester who have it all to do today.
Now the afternoon will start with everybody paying their respects to two young men lost to rugby over the past week. Tongan Sawa Otavaka of the Newcastle Falcons, Tyndale of Manchester, and Irish under-19 international John McCall from Ulster. And it's time to remember and how their loss has hurt the whole of the sport.
Scoring a fourth for the home side, as incredibly they went through 5-4 on aggregate. In the semi-finals, they'll play Porto, who took a 2-0 lead to Lyon, where Maniche twice put them in front in last night's second leg. Twice, though, the French champions drew level, but Elbert's late equaliser for Lyon was no more than a consolation as Porto went through 4-2 on aggregate. Tonight, Celtic and Newcastle are both in action in the first legs of their UEFA Cup quarter-finals, and you can follow both the matches on BBC Radio and TV. There's commentary on Newcastle's trip to PSV Eindhoven on BBC Radio 5 Live, while Celtic against Villarreal is live on BBC One from Scotland and throughout the UK.
So referee Dave Pearson in charge of this Zurich Premiership match. Two clubs at different ends of the table and needing a win for very different reasons. Here's Nicky Little then, back in the number 10 jersey for Saracens. He will start the match. Trevor Woodman back in Gloucester colours. Little's kickoff. It's played by Gloucester. It didn't go 10 metres, but of course, if Gloucester touch it first, then it will not be a scrum back on halfway, and Gloucester have it now with Gummersall. And then 40's pass nearly intercepted. Richard Hill was coming in. He knocked it on, and that's why there's an advantage. There was nearly a very significant advantage for Saracens. Gifted try early on, that would have been. And Henry Paul finds the touch for the first time this afternoon.
Interesting start though. Gloucester's first instinct there was to catch that ball and drive down the middle. They went wide very early against Sale, never really committed them. I think there will be more direct rugby from Gloucester, more power through the middle, more territory in the early parts of today.
James Parks, he was the unregistered player, you may remember, at the start of the season. Cost Saracens 2 points then. It's been reduced that to 1 point. Hasn't really affected their league standing though. Louis. Williams away. And that's a little step from Soren, that was good. Russell went with him. Louis again. Little just caught. As always, there's a good atmosphere in this stadium. Gone are the days of Saracens packing it out as they try and build their fan base again. Still a reasonable crowd and always a good noise.
Well, there's a good number of Gloucester fans. They know how important this game is as well. The Saracens fans hoping for an entertaining game. Gloucester hoping for the victory.
Not too much to choose between the two sets of forwards standing on the scales. There's Dave Ellis, the defensive coach at Gloucester, changed his ringtone on his phone to the French national anthem. So the French defensive coach returned home with a grand slam just to annoy everybody. And Nigel Melville alongside John Mitchell there, who's spending some time with Nigel Melville. And Dean Ryan too, completing that set. Some rugby brains there. And some talent on the field too in their playing days. Jake Ball still in his playing days and signed a new contract, 3 years, which will mean 7 years at the club for him. Very popular man. Here's Sorrell, popular here too for Saracens. Tries to evade the tackle there of Alex Brown. Couldn't get away from Brown, but he got the ball back in a good position, and that encouraged the infringement on the floor at the ruck, given by Dave Pearson. Russell Garvey, part of the England under-21 team. Successfully going to that Grand Slam under the guidance of John Callard and, of course, our own Nigel Redmond.
Well, you'll see this. We saw it sail last week. Duncan McRae and Henry Paul reading the situation. And that chip, you will see them try that time and again. Very effective. McRae's got it worked to a T. The bounce against them there, but that won't be the last time.
Parks to throw again. Right to the tail and finding Hill. Just 2 starts in the Premiership for Saracens this season for Richard Hill. World Cup and then Six Nations. And Gummerson meant for Garvey, who's got to really get his foot down there, and he had a chance. He was getting away, and was he being impeded? Garvey's pointing out that he would have scored a try.
Well, there's a card possibility here as well. If the decision is Garvey would have scored, then he's thinking it's a penalty try. You can see Chesney's pulled him off the ball. I don't think you can say he definitely have scored because that ball goes into touch shallow, but I think it's a yellow card. No doubt about that. Now with Chesney off, do Gloucester go for the 3-point, or do they go for the catch and drive?
It's another yellow card for a Saracens player. 15 in the Premiership before today this season. They're leading that league. And Chris Chesney makes it 16. Entirely the right decision on both counts, I think, from Dave Pearson.
Miles, I was a bit surprised with Adrian Winnan, who's playing left wing for Saracens. He didn't seem to feel the urgency immediately. The man on the left you picked was very slow, and then Chesney's worried, and he just pulls Garvey down. And Gloucester have a great early opportunity here.
Well, both Chesney and Winnan are quick, but on that evidence, not as quick as Garvey, but then few are, and Gloucester did go for the catch and drive, and how? They're pushing towards that Saracen line with real purpose.
2 black in the side.
And the referee gives a penalty against Parks, the hooker.
2 black.
Well, they could go for 3 points, but they were moving with such menace and efficiency there. I wouldn't be surprised if Duncan McRae probes this one into the corner, because frankly it was only the penalty that stopped Gloucester scoring there. They were over, weren't they? I mean, there's no real resistance there. Eustace makes the take. They're very tight there. We didn't see that against Sale. The cherry and white pack got good momentum there, and it's no surprise that Duncan McRae has said, right, let's do it again. One more penalty, Miles, and you get the feeling Dave Pearson's under the post penalty try.
And what a start that will be for Gloucester. Taken by Eustace. Just like the last one, they haven't quite got the drive on yet, but they're working hard to bring this drive around. Saracens bring it down maybe, but here's Fanaloa trying to burst his way through the middle. Offload to McRae. Against his former club. Gummersall again to Henry Paul. Van der Berg. Well, he's caught, and caught well by Kidd. It was a tenacious tackle. Paul driven back. Good defence here from Saracens. McRae's going for the drop goal. Well, 1-0 for Watford maybe, but not 3 points here for Gloucester.
Well, that was good defence from Saracens. They were all at sea with the first catch and drive, but they made sure Gloucester couldn't build any momentum up, and then they defended very well wide. Van der Berg, perhaps he should have shipped the ball to Simpson. Daniel, and a lot of penetration there. But that's great defensive work from the home team.
Safe.
Nicky Little goes long, very long. Paul. Here's a winner. Kidd. He's cup-tied for the Parker pen. It's been a frustrating time since he arrived at Saracens. Not quite the games that he wanted. There's Parks. Working now, of course, under the guidance of Steve Diamond. Diamond, former hooker, with Sale. Now coach here. That's the halfway line. Williams to Little. Congested. Did well. Used his strength.
That's the strength of Little, isn't it? His strength in those spaces.
There's Bailey acting as scrum half. Referee playing advantage here to Saracens. He saw the offside. Certainly the Saracen supporters saw it and made their views known to the referee. Nothing coming from that surge from Ben Johnston, so it's back for the penalty. Smack in the middle of the field.
Offside number 6.
Well, it's the skipper, Jake Ball, was offside initially. Must admit, the first penalty was given about 5 metres nearer the Gloucester line. And because of that, I think Nicky Little, instead of going for goal, has gone for territory. But Jake Ball jumped the gun. He's out of the traps early there, you can see. But the penalty, in fact, was given about 2 or 3 metres nearer Saracens' own line. And that's undoubtedly when the penalty was given. A let-off there.
Through the hill, but the referee not happy with that throw-in from Parks. Perhaps Saracens in general haven't been happy with their line-out this season. Where have we heard that before?
Hold it, you two, keep it square, please. Crouching, hold only.
Well, you can see that straight into Richard Hill's left hand going backwards.
Use it!
Paramore.
Tackle away!
Of course, Gloucester don't have James Forrester now on the bench from now until the end of the season. He'll miss the rest of the campaign. Boots going in there. There's no doubt that Saracens left Kingsholm earlier this season. You may have seen it, one of our live games in the Premiership. Feeling aggrieved, they felt that decisions went against them. That was a bit of a tetchy game at times. Saracens losing players to the sin bin on that day. A couple of players who felt went to a sin bin and it wasn't quite justified. Today it was.
I must say, Phil Vickery is a little bit lucky there, because that's a liberal interpretation of rocking there.
Careful, fellas.
It is frustrating though, and Dave Pearson's made the point. The first crime was the worst one, and that's why there hasn't been a reverse. And I think he's right.
Henry Paul finds the touch.
Calm down, guys.
Was the RFU giving Gloucester 7 days to sort out this sevens issue? That story seems to be dying now.
Tempt fate, Harrison.
Seems to be.
Go on. Keep that going forward. Keep it moving.
Gummuscle, he would say, so often has this armchair ride.
Advantage, pulling the ball down.
Well, it's a sofa with plumped cushions, isn't it, behind that Gloucester pack. And Gloucester get the penalty. Saracens feeling desperate and pulling down the rolling Moor.
I'd imagine 10 minutes gone, Henry Paul will probably say, let's take 3 points and get in front. But there's no doubt that's not the first time Gloucester are giving Saracens problems from the line-out. That's why Saracens conceded 5 penalties, a couple from the line-out already. No doubt at all, Gloucester are much tighter, they're driving tight. They want to take some of the sting out of Saracens' defence early on here.
Yes, it doesn't feel like 0-0, does it?
No, and it's much more direct than last Friday night in Stockport.
Here's the quick fire Henry Paul, and he's got his shot working straight through. 166 points now this season in the Premiership for Henry Paul. Also the leading point scorer in the Heineken Cup, which he re-enters next weekend with that quarter-final tie, mouth-watering occasion coming up at the Causeway Stadium against London Wasps. But Gloucester have Zurich Premiership business to sort out here today, and they lead courtesy of that successful Henry Paul penalty. That's a good chase though from Saracens. Gummuscle. Williams, 2 bites, but clearly the ball going backwards. A wriggle forward there from Parks. Advantage again. Saracens don't want it.
On your feet at the breakdown.
Hazel off his feet there, and
Leave it alone, guys.
Nicky Little will take his time here, because we've got most of the sin bin time elapsed now, and if Nicky Little fancies his chance at goal, no he doesn't, but he'll ponder it for 10 seconds or so, set himself and prodded into the corner, and I'd imagine the Saracens pack will gently amble towards the line out, and a good position.
April Fool this week that Rod Cafer was coming back to first team action. It was on the Saracens website.
And you come and stop.
But the injuries have been such at the club. I thought there might be a grain of truth in it. Cafer, we saw him yesterday, just laughed it off.
It was a good drive from Saracens this time. Yandel took that well.
Sorrell, nearly through there. Saracens to put in. Of course, at the moment, Rod Cafer is banned from the touchline. That's why he's sitting in the stand. So half-time between Bath and the Sale Sharks, 8-5 at the Rec. A win would guarantee Bath at least, very least, a top 3 spot. One loss at home in 12 months at the recreation ground to Wasps in February. But Sale recovering now, won their last 3 in all competitions. And of course beat Gloucester a week yesterday. And that's why Gloucester simply have to win today. Williams, in goes a hand from Gummersall. Referee says offside. And this one is smack in front of the uprights. And Chesney comes out of the sin bin.
Well, that constitutes a good 10 minutes for Saracens, doesn't it? Because Nicky surely will kick this, and that will mean 3-all during the time when it was a man extra for Gloucester. Andy Gummersall, that's a tight decision, you know. He'd be frustrated with himself, though, that he even gave Dave Pearson the chance to make that decision, because Saracens had Paul Bailey, their right wing, packing in the back row. So they were a man down. No need to give that penalty away.
Oh, wow.
Well, scratch that 3-all.
Unbelievable miss from Nicky Little. Scooped it, but right under it. Ooh, horrible.
No real follow-through on that kick either. That's horrible.
That's a big blow for Saracens. It was a guaranteed 3 points. At least they've got Chesney back on the field. So their full complement up front, which every side needs against Gloucester. Izagi just slips it back to Hill. Now it's Little. Wonder what's going through his mind after that missed kick. And his mates down there, and he'll want to atone for that error. Raoului. Williams. It's very congested. Yandel does the simple thing. Williams to Little. And Chesney and Clarks, and it's going backwards. Very static attack, wasn't it? And picked up by Jake Bohr as it came back on the Saracen side. Ball was clearly out. Ball wasn't offside. Reverse pass to him from Duncan McRae, doesn't work out, and it gets knocked on, and that wasn't the best passage of play we've seen in the Zurich Premiership this season.
Duncan McRae tried to be too clever there. Here you can see the ball out. Jake Bohr comes quite clearly from an onside position to win the ball, but then Duncan McRae tried to force this little inside pass, and there was too much pace on it. Here you can see it, the little show inside. Yeah, you guess Jake Bohr should have done better, but it was going into congested areas anyway. That might have been a time then, you know, with good turnover ball when Duncan McRae could have gone wide.
It's another cut in the career of Richard Hill. Ben Skirving will come on and replace him temporarily. As Richard Hill goes to another kind of bin, the blood bin. Saw Graham Simmons take a step back, doesn't like blood.
His replacement, Ben Skirvin's an interesting player. Very impressive at England's under-21 Grand Slam this season. quick, athletic.
Hold, engage.
You get the feeling Saracens would like Hill back as soon as possible.
Follow me, follow me.
Chesney protecting the ball. Played just about everywhere. Right along the back row, second row, and also, of course, on the wing. Knocked on by Raul Louis. It's scrappy.
Saracens trying to force the play from very deep there, and that's not a good pass from Morgan Williams there to a big man like Raul Louis, always struggling to take that one.
Free kick, far side again.
Free kick.
Got bodies on the ground. We're driving up and fast. Far side. Hands, shoulders and hips.
Duncan McRae is saying go to the corner, but it's a tap penalty, so I think Andy Gomes will say no, mate.
A full penalty, and Gloucester will throw into the line out. So Gomes takes charge and gives it to McRae. Paul missing out Fanalua. Here comes the new man from South Africa, Rian van der Berg. Gomes, Paul, McRae, Vickery, Woodman. McRae again, missing out Simpson Daniel. Hardly had a touch yet, Simpson Daniel. That's a good touch from Paramore to Bore, and Bore just losing his footing when he was lining up the last man, and he would have fancied that. From Gummersall to McRae, Paul is once again Gloucester up the pace. In comes Fanalua. Now previously, Saracens' defensive line answered the questions. Can they do that now? Deflection on McRae's chip, picked up by Ben Russell. Williams, away it goes. Van der Berg goes back. This will be Bayliss, and he calls for the mark. Exactly where he was.
I thought Duncan McRae was a little bit impatient there. Gloucester were building left, right, and the chip just gave Saracens the ball when there were still options. They went left to right from the free kick, and then you can see when they go wide, they love to get Paramore and Bore out wide in channels, but he slips as he wants to confront Winnan.
Good play by Paramore.
Yeah, he's a good player out wide, isn't he? He's not just a big man, he's got good skill. But I do feel Duncan McRae then, a few seconds later, chipped a ball away, and it makes it 50-50.
Do you think that chip is also becoming a bit predictable? It's happening an awful lot from Gloucester.
Well, no matter how skillful you are, if you do something too much, it does become predictable. In the same way that crossfield kick that England used so much, you haven't seen them use it so much because teams are now aware of it.
Another thing you can predict is Alex Brown winning line-out ball, and he took that one right off the top, and it's good ball for Gloucester, and they're quickly into midfield.
And Terry Fanaloa hitting the tackler, that's a fairly predictable one as well.
Nasty bounce for Bailey, where before he was able to make the mark just inside his 22. That time he has to see the ball bobble over his head. Andy Gummersall, a good kicker of the ball, and there's a fine line-out play. Alex Brown said at the start of the game, 76 Premiership games in a row, first with Bristol and then Gloucester. Come back to that in a sec as Williams gives it to Little, and Little finds his touch. The record for games in a row in the top division, well, Derek Eves, the former Bristol flanker, what service he gave, 81, so Brown is nearly there, and it's a fantastic run, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be playing in the second row, so physical there, and Alex Brown really, we've seen him limp off once or twice, but he's always back the next week, and he is a line-out ace, but he does a lot of work around the park, both carrying and tackling. He's had a tremendous season.
40, Dean Ryan says when he gets to 80 he's going to put him on the bench. Here's Ball, and Little, but boarded well. Here's Paul, Fanalua. Oh, it's a good line from Van der Berg, and it's a good ball too to Garvey, and it's a cracking try. Really well taken and created. And the new signing makes an impact. Rian van der Berg had a bad game up at Sale in his debut. He would admit that, but he was on the wing, and then in this game he features as fullback and joins the line perfectly in his preferred position, and he released Garvey for his 5th Premiership try of the season.
It's delayed passing from the centres. I think Fanalua actually fumbles, which helps, and then Rian van der Berg does pick a good line And the timing of the pass to Garvey, excellent. There's the fumble by Fanaloa almost, and that allowed the South African to come straight and hard. The timing of the pass to Garvey is very good. And Winnan, well, he gives up early because he knows he's wasted his energy.
And Henry Paul has this conversion now, which sails over. Has a terrific rhythm with his kicking, Henry Paul. Doesn't hang around, gets on with it, gets the points on the board, and Gloucester have deserved this lead.
Fanaloa, watch this, he just drifts across the park, and there's your man, Rian van der Berg, picking the line, changing the angle, across and straight, try. That's your money.
If you backed it.
Figuratively speaking, Miles, figuratively speaking. It's a good finish, whatever, we'll agree on that.
Gomersall. Kidd has to wait for William to get out of his way. Now it finds Bailey. Really quite abrasive, Paul Bailey. He's made an impact in his first season. Williams to Little. Kidd. Can they find a way through the Gloucester defence?
That was a good ball to Ben Russell, wasn't it? But Gloucester defending well.
Johnston. Williams. Little. Louis.
Hands off Ruck! That's out, that's out, that's out.
Sparks.
Hands off Ruck!
It's not the first time Saracens have been slow to clear up ball that's at the back of their ruck, is it?
Well, they seem to have 2 or 3 waves of attack, and they don't
not
really get across the gain line, and then it breaks down.
Good kick.
From Little. And the Berg feeling much better now in Gloucester colours. He was done by Mark Cueto last week, never really recovered in that game against Sale. Here's Little, and here's Kidd. Saracens have an advantage here. Jake Bohr has been singled out by the referee, and he's going back for that penalty.
Well, that's very slack play from the Gloucester captain. Andy Gomersall was sprinting up to try and put his forwards on sign, but Bohr just drifted across the park 5 metres before Gomersall got to him, shaking his hands there. But I think he's disappointed with himself. Nicky Little throws the ball in field, no sign of Andy Gomersall. And he's going across the park and he's taking all of them with him offside.
Interesting decision here by Saracens. They have an option of taking a scrum from the point where the ball was kicked. Of course, there's also a test here of the officials to remember exactly where it was kicked.
Did he? I didn't think Andy Gomersall travelled that far. Hang on a minute.
It's a great position, but Gloucester responded there with a great shunt. And they go over the top because the ball was out. Referee said it was okay. It was right on the edge. Gomersall, penalty to Gloucester. And Gomersall takes it quickly. And he gets through the tackle of Louis, and Little has to struggle to hold on to him. In goes Henry Paul. Comes this side. That's a risky pass, but Simpson Daniel, knowing the hit was about to come, did well to concentrate there, and Gloucester will put in to this scrum.
On both sides, back to the feet.
Leading 10-0.
Well, we'll just go back to the Saracens attacking scrum from where the kick was. The scrum was 1 metre inside the Gloucester 22. Look at Andy Gomersall, he's inside the football 18-yard line. And that makes a lot of difference, doesn't it? That changes the attack a lot. That was slack.
Yeah, time's off.
That's one for the touch judge, isn't it,
Oh,
really?
I'm not blaming Dave Pearson there. In fact, I'm not blaming anyone, but let's just say the touch judge will wonder about his decision there.
Melville may be discussing that point with John Mitchell, the former All Black coach.
I just said a couple of minutes earlier, we had a moment when Jake Bohr was offside between his halfway line and his own 10-yard line, and the penalty was given within the Saracens' own half, which again meant Nicky Little couldn't go for goal. It's important to get these things right.
Yes, they can change games. Those decisions. McCrae to Paul. Charged down by Sorrell. Now it's Van der Berg, the defender, did well to pick that up. Ooh, it wasn't the best kick. Comes through Vazagi, and in fact he's deemed to have knocked that on. The Saracens fans don't like it, but I think you can understand why it was given.
Off his hands, forward, then back.
That was a horrible 30 seconds of kicking skills, or lack of them, from Gloucester. Henry Paul was far too slow, sold it very well, and Van der Berg, that was a horrible kick.
McRae, Richard Hill right on that one. Really another charge down. Bailing to Kidd. And goes Yandel, but trying to ruck the man out of the way. Sorrell. Caught by Brown, who gets through a lot of work in the loose as well. Aside from his line-out play and his work there, leads to a Gloucester penalty. Andy Gummersall thought about the quick one, but this is within Henry Paul's range.
Number 12, 2 movements to squeeze it. Goal.
And he's going for goal.
Well, again, last week against Sale, you did feel Gloucester went out there trying to score tries early on, and they didn't build any sort of foundation at all. Today, they've got the try, but they're looking for the penalties. McRae's had a pop at a drop goal. They're trying to just build themselves a solid lead. And then you'd think in the second half, using the driving forwards to tire Saracens, they'll give the likes of Simpson, Daniel and Garvey a bit more ball.
Henry Paul then, not a problem. Had lots of spare, that kick, which will be a warning to Saracens. Henry Paul is right in the groove.
He's got incredibly fast leg speed there. The point of contact with the boot and the ball, his foot is really travelling, and that's why he gets such good distance.
Just doesn't look like he's going to miss at the moment, Henry Paul, which probably means he'll miss the next one, but
yeah, you do get that feeling, don't you?
Total confidence in him. As Gummersall kicks again. He kicks very well from hand then to Gummersall. I think it's very important to the Gloucester side and the way they want to play. Alex Page has enjoyed the chances, and he's still young and he's developing, but Gummersall arrives and there's a whole different look and feel to Gloucester.
There's more fizz and pace to the pass, but there's also, it's not just the tangible skills, it's bossing the pack, it's giving shape to the team, and Gummersall does that well for this team.
No scrum half because Williams was the man who took it into the tackle. Saracens relieved to get that put in. Andy Hazel knew there was a chance of a turnover there and scurried forward to try and get the ball for his side. See Williams here, he's the one, the scrum half, who gets the ball in the end, and he's buried.
Yeah, good pressure there from Woodman as well. And again, Saracens not cleaning out and not getting men there, either Morgan Williams or someone else, to act as scrum half to clear the ball.
27 years old now, Williams. Best still to come, and Saracens will be hoping that it will come here. He's signed a new deal this week. Raoul Louis, who's certainly given an awful lot this season, hasn't missed a Premiership match. Most minutes on the field from a Saracens player. It's Kidd, the fullback. Williams taking his time. Little, a prodding kick. He's too close to the fullback. The referee say he wasn't. Well, the question was asked by Saracens, was that outside the 22 from Van der Berg? Well, the answer, as you heard, was no. Plenty of possession, but no points to show for it.
Scant penetration as well at the moment from Saracens. Quite a lot of lateral movement there. Haven't generated the power through the middle, and they don't really, with Horton missing in Sevens action, have that devastating pace, because Gloucester are quick wide today. Very quick.
No Ibanez for Saracens at the moment. That's why Parks is in the side. Free kick. And it's Williams, and Parks going with him, looking keen. Well, it's given to Raoul Louis in the end. Now it's Hill. He was assessing and just deciding whether it was off. Little missing out Sorrell and not giving it to Johnston. Kidd couldn't take it, and now Paul has it, and Vickering will realise it's very much on the counter here for Gloucester. Paramore to Simpson Daniel. Jake Paul. Chance here for Gloucester to stretch Saracens on the counter, but they're losing the ball. In fact, it had been turned over. The referee didn't see it and had already blown the whistle for the Saracens put in. Just as well they've got the put in, or words to that effect.
Gloucester didn't make the most of that turnover on the right-hand flank, did they? Some poor passing there. Didn't draw the Saracens defenders, and in the end, the forwards had to tie it in, and then it slides forward. Knock on from the Gloucester man. But it would be worrying for Saracens at the moment because they have to find some penetration from somewhere there. Raoulou is working very, very hard, isn't he? But behind the scrum, little jinx from Sorrell trying to get between McRae and Paul, but really it's not quite happening.
Just time to have a look at what's happening next week, and don't miss this. Back to European action Friday night in Llanelli. Good Friday, of course, and then on Saturday, Parker Pen action, Bath Montferrand, back to the Heineken Cup in Toulouse and in Munster. What a day of rugby that is. And then on the Sunday, Parker Pen Harlequins and London Wasps hosting the Heineken quarter-final. Here's Sorrell. That's a lovely run from Sorrell. And he steps his man too. Sorrell going for the line. Just short, little with him. Who can fall over? Williams can. Well, that's what they wanted to see. It might be the start of a turn in this game. We'll have to wait and see, but at least Saracens have got themselves back in it. Morgan Williams celebrates his new contract with a try, and the Fezzers are happy.
We said, didn't we, Kevin Sorrell's the man who's been finding the half gap. Now, because Gloucester think there's a chance, McRae sprints up, Henry Paul doesn't, and there's a gap for Sorrell there. Rian van der Berg doesn't do very well as the last stop. Simpson Daniel and Fanilo with a tackle, but Williams low, fast and hard, and he's over for a fantastic score. But really, McRae and Paul were all over the place in midfield there.
Well, Nicky Little having a bit of a shocker kicking for goal, but here's the try from Saracens, created by Sorrell's run and finished by Williams. He didn't panic. Williams again to Little, and that's charged down. Paramore. Vickery takes it on. So Saracens still have only 5 points after that missed kick from Nicky Little. It should have been a simple conversion after that simple penalty missed earlier. Back to you, Stu, for this.
Well, look at the defensive system here. McRae miles in front of Henry Paul, and he just makes it so easy there for Sorrell to pick the hole. He can't not go through that. Gloucester lost their shape there, and that's why Saracens scored.
Chesney. Williams. Nearly. Now it's Saracens starting to ask questions, and they're quite penetrating ones. Looking like they're getting through the middle, which is something that wasn't the case earlier in the match.
No, you just wonder at 13-0 whether Gloucester have taken their eye off this one for a second.
Little was outside his 22, but it was not his intention to put the ball into touch. Van der Berg seemed to take a long time to pull the trigger, and that will have been noted by the opposition.
Well, at the moment you would say it's an easy out if you're under pressure to just boot it long, because Rian van der Berg doesn't look at the moment as if he's going to be counter-attacking too much. He's very happy to get back to his 22 and just put it somewhere near the halfway line and let Saracens start again with the line out.
Parks throws, and throws well. Mendel alongside Raoulou in that second row. Little tap forward.
Knock on at the back.
Well, we came here expecting points. Only Edgeley Park in the Premiership has seen more points this season than Vicarage Road.
Saracens have got 5 less than they should have, haven't they? Dreadful kicking from Nicky Little.
McRae to Paul, to McRae again. Here's Van der Berg. Joins the line well, no doubt about that. Garvey trying to push that ball back. It worked because Gummersall finds Simpson Daniel, who finds Henry Paul, and that's neat from Henry Paul. Gummersall again, that quick pass, and Simpson Daniel has seen a gap in behind Saracens here. Oh, he nearly collected that. That was very close indeed from James Simpson Daniel.
We saw some good play there. Gummersall first of all, Henry Paul's step, and Simpson Daniel the outside of the boot. The break goes his way, but Williams is always there for the tackle, and then there's the knock-on. But that was dangerous from Gloucester. Ball breaks away from the Canadian. Tries to take it in one hand. If he gathers it in, the tackle's on him. That was lively, though.
His first game for Gloucester since the end of January. Viadana with the opponents then. Combination of his England presence and injury. Here's Little. Vandenberg has time to have another go. Got Garvey with him. Over the top of Winnan, needed to be.
It's a great kick.
Took a risk, didn't he?
He did, because Winnan had an awful lot of space, because Marcel Garvey, coming into picture now, has opened up the entire left flank. If Winnan catches that, Saracens have got a 3-on-1, but it's a fantastic kick. He gets away with it.
But it may take him a while to pull the trigger, but when he does, there's a bit of a blunderbuss there from Van der Berg. Right, Louis. Williams to Little. Garvey was thinking about the quick ones, but he needed to catch the ball to take it quickly to himself. So as this first half draws to a close, Saracens back in the match. The steward was saying how much closer would they have been had the kicks gone over. The answer, 5 points, gifted away. Well, the referee's blown against Jake Ball for some obstruction there, some pulling in. Chris Forty, referee had spotted it.
Forty, the hooker. You can just see him holding his opposite man, James Parks, there, I think it is, and that's why Jake Ball finds 5 metres. This will be the last play of the game, so you'd imagine Saracens fine touch. They haven't had the penetration, but with that late try there in this game, Gloucester in control, but Saracens in the game, Miles.
So the match that Gloucester have to win, really, to keep up the pressure for this top 3 spot, knowing that London Wasps and Northampton are meeting tomorrow. Well, they are in front at half-time. They deserve that lead, but Saracens have come back into this match before the interval with that try from Morgan Williams, their scrum half. In response to Marcel Garvey's try for Gloucester, a try apiece. Henry Paul's kicking in Saracens 5, Gloucester 13.
40 minutes gone at Vicarage Road, and Gloucester lead the way by 13 points to 5. A win, remember, an absolute necessity. They cannot afford to slip up. Saracens, though, need to improve if they're to threaten the Cherry and White's advantage.
So here we go for the second half. And there's a change for Gloucester. Rodrigo Roncero is on, and Trevor Woodman has gone off. Not quite sure why at this stage. We'll endeavour to get that news to you, why that change has been made. But Roncero of Argentina replacing Woodman of England, both of Gloucester. And we're just hearing that he has an eye injury, Trevor Woodman. So that's why Rodrigo Roncero is on the field. Gloucester leading by 13 points to 5 at the interval. We've made much of the Gloucester situation, how they have to win. For Saracens, well, you get the feeling they're not thinking of wild card, although it's still possible, and a back door into Europe as Little kicks finds Van der Berg. It's more about building for next season with the new signings coming. Some exciting names too: Alex Sanderson, Dan Scarborough, Hugh Vivian, Matt Cairns, Ian Fullerton, all decided to come to Saracens, and there will be more signings made over the next few weeks. Still, also news this week of a possible extra team from England into the Heineken Cup in next year's campaign because of the Welsh reorganisation into regional teams. That place could also go to France, depending on what happens in this year's tournament. So that might mean 7 from the Premiership. So the wild card takes on even more significance. There's Williams to Little. Missing out Sorrell, given to Johnston this time, and now it's Winnan, who's just returning from a hamstring problem, had a catalogue of injury problems this year, hamstring the latest. Doesn't look totally match fit thus far. There's Little finding Visagi. Sorrell. His break that led to that Saracens try in the first half. And how they needed that score. Hill is acting scrum half. Little, Raului, Little again. Referee is blown up for crossing. Penalty to Gloucester.
Well, it was a move that was petering out pretty badly. And there is quite clearly a cross in there. Yandel, I think. I don't know whether Simpson Daniel might have fancied a little dart there. It was a pretty poor back move though, wasn't it?
Simpson Daniel wouldn't have got to the ball though, would he? And bet your life it would have gone into touch. So I think advantage there may have been a little bit optimistic from the referee. You can see why the whistle went.
Very static again, wasn't it? Very static, and Gloucester now get a foothold in the Saracens half for the first time in the second half. They want to build on this 13-5.
40 to Ball, Gummersall. McRae to Paul to McRae again. The difference is that Gloucester, time and time again, look more threatening behind the scrum. Well, that's evened out the crossing at the start of this second half. One going Saracens' way, and Richard Hill and Chris Forty will need pulling apart. Forty never far away from trouble. Richard Hill can now see the funny side. He can also look after himself.
Number 6.
Dave Pearson is not a man for decoy runners, I think we can say, after the last minute of this game, as Nicky Little drives the ball just about to the halfway line. And that's what we call nothing.
Williams. Little. Henry Paul was waiting for him. Taken off Little by Sparks. He spent some time in France, previously with West Hartlepool back in the 90s. This is Raului. Little ship on there from Parks was good. Now it's Johnson. Reverse ball inside to Kidd, who did well to pass, considering he's being upended, but he's been knocked on.
That was a pity for Saracens, because that was much better. They worked the short side quite nicely there. Raului again doing very well in broken play, and Sorrell is posing questions, threatening, but then the knock-on gives Gloucester control again. Good timing of the pass from the second row, and Parks, Sorrell putting Johnson away. It's a nice inside ball to Winnan, and then just a little knock-on there from Ben Russell.
Russell, the man who scored tries against Scotland and Ireland in England's under-21 Grand Slam season. Paramore coming pounding off that scrum and finding McRae, and that's a good long pass, but Fanalua couldn't take it.
Well, that is a waste of a lovely piece of play from Junior Paramore. Put the wheel on, outside Little. McRae knows it's on wide. The pass isn't good, to be honest.
No, who was at fault? I think, actually, looking at it again, it was McRae.
Yeah, Fanaloa still should have taken it, but even had he done so, you could see Winnan is coming into view. McRae was right to go for the missed call because it was on, but the execution was poor.
Sorrell.
It's that 10-12 axis they're going at, isn't it? McRae and Paul.
Louis. Saracens going for the pick and drive. Williams to Little. Johnston. This has happened too much from a Saracens perspective, this loss of ground from rather aimless work in midfield. Doesn't seem to go anywhere. Little goes long again to Van der Berg. Boom.
It's quite amazing. The touch judge, every time there's a ball cleared from the 22, is on the halfway line or he's a metre either side of it. It's uncanny how every kick lands in the same spot. I swear, that's the 6th stage time this afternoon. He's stopped on the halfway line. Amazing.
40. McRae. There's that chip again. Referee says play on, no obstruction. Williams to Winnan. Garvey with the tackle. Sorrell waits. With Johnston also at the breakdown. No centres there, but the fullback was around. It's Robbie Kidd. Hand comes in from Gloucester, it's gone forward.
That's an important tackle from Alex Brown there because Robbie Kidd saw the field opening up there and Brown had to stretch out and make a very important tackle. Here's McRae's chip. There's Kobus Visagi watching his captain Simon Raoului lean into him, I think would be fair to say. But this is an important tackle from Brown. Gomesel's covering, but you wonder whether Kidd might just be away there. Great work by the lock.
Did look like a penalty on McRae.
I agree.
Williams to Sorrell to Raoului. Didn't get long to release, but you don't these days, and the referee quick to give a penalty, and Simon Raoului may have been hurt after that charge.
He's putting a lot into this game, isn't he, Simon Raoului? Penalised that time, but again, he's coming from deep. He's carrying well, he offloads. Can't offload the ball. Takes it on the second roll, holds on to it, and you can see he's grimacing there. It is a penalty and he is in pain.
I think it's fair to say that Saracens in 11th place in the Premiership are not down there because of Simon Raoului.
Some raised their eyebrows when he was appointed captain, but he really has led exceptionally well. Some around him would have to ask questions about their own attitude, not Raoului.
Skirving is stripping off again. Of course, Saracens already without Alex Codlin. He's missing once again because of a hamstring problem. There's Skirving, like Russell, Six Nations winner in the under-21s. Louis stays on the field, and Skirving can put his blanket back on.
Just think, different shaped ball, we could have had a stretcher out there, carried to the sidelines, calling the Red Cross, and then he'd be back on. But no, Raoului is up, and he's ready for action.
Here's a change at hooker. Robbie Russell's coming on, and that means James Parks goes off. Russell, the Scottish international, featured in the Six Nations at full international level. There's a replacement. There's Little to Sorrell behind Johnston, breaking down in midfield again, and Winnan a little bit slow to react there, or the communication between Winnan and Kidd was wrong. Both men thinking that the other one was about to retrieve the ball. Doesn't go totally wrong though for Saracens, and they clear, but only as far as Van der Berg. Now Simpson Daniel gets a run, gives it on to McRae. Well, that's great cover. And then Nick knocked on, and it was Richard Hill who got all the way across there to make that tackle on his former teammate, Duncan McRae. 3 years since McRae played here for Saracens. Brilliant. He will remember Richard Hill.
Brilliant work from Hill there. McRae thinks they've got a chance here. Put the afterburners on, but Hill's got to change a gear himself. That's superb work from the England back row forward. Always looks more at home to me at 6, you know. People have said, is he a better 7 than 6? I don't think there's any doubt. He is a world-class blindside flanker because he brings that aspect of the open side into the game. But he's so much more comfortable playing on the short side.
Crouching hold only. Engage. No.
Free kick.
Shoulders and hips. Far side. Shoulders and hips.
Williams, Louis soldiering on. Williams again looks around for Little, and that's a very big man to try and get the ball over Alex Brown. Simpson Daniel, he knocked the ball backwards. Hasn't quite got the ball that he wanted today, Simpson Daniel, but still plenty of time to go. Paul to Garvey, that's the ball he likes, and he brushes off Wynnum, but he can't get away from the clutches of Johnston. Eustace keeps it in. Paul skirts with a touchline, but he didn't touch it. Here's McRae, and Richard Hill in to make another big tackle on McRae. He won't leave him alone. Here's Henry Paul. 40. Gummersall.
It's on.
Vanalua. Simpson Daniel. Missing out Van der Berg. Given out to Hazel. Good passage this. Vanalua. Roncero. Gloucester hit that ruck with real meaning. Vanalua to McRae. Space in front of him. McRae still. What a collision that was. Still has a chance here. He gets it back to Gummersall, which he did. Now Garvey. Johnston trying to go back on his feet, and in fact, it's for not releasing the penalty. Good play by Ben Johnson. He made the tackle and then did his best to disguise any illegal work and got the penalty for his side. McRae clattered into the last man here. Look at this.
Yeah, well, he slipped into the challenge, didn't he, of Robbie Kidd? And then Vickery just gives Garvey the ball. It's a 2-on-2, and Johnson, he does very well there. Makes the tackle, and he's up on his feet, and that is a penalty.
Black 4. Replacements.
Just saw the first sign then, didn't you, of Gloucester's wide game stretching Saracens as the game moves towards the latter quarter.
Well, there is Ben Skirving coming on now for Simon Louis. He's clearly hurt, and Saracens forced into a change there. Hill. Having a strong second half, Richard Hill. That's implying he didn't have a strong first one. He never has a weak half. Here's Kidd. You know what I mean? He's really coming more and more into the match, and Saracens needing his leadership.
Yeah, he's had a very forceful second half. You're quite right. Defence, attack, winning line-out. Saracens' line-outs worked very well this half too.
Brown and Hazel trying to make the tackle there and rip the ball back. But Saracens showing strength and getting the put in. The frustration there for Morgan Williams. He wanted to keep the pace up. Saracens in need of the next score. In the Stade Francais man.
And you do feel Saracens need to keep their hands on the ball, because you can see Gloucester trying to put some width on it. Another score will make it very, very difficult for Saracens. They need to keep this ball, fashion the next score of some sort.
Williams again. Little just really put his head down and ran into a player there. Still it worked.
Stay on your feet, you're on your knees there.
To a point, or possibly 3, as Saracens have a penalty.
Well, he hasn't been able to kick him from about 20 metres in front, so maybe 48 metres is more his range. He doesn't lack the power or the distance, does he?
The way it's gone for Little this afternoon, Saracens must have been considering a change of kicker. What options do they have? Wynnum could go from distance. not a regular kicker, but he's done it before. Robbie Kidd took over the kicking duties last week when Thomas Castagned went off against Northampton. Kevin Sorrell's done it before, but none of them as regular as this man.
And none have the distance Nicky Little has to his kicking. Maybe from 20 metres, it wouldn't be little. It is from this distance.
So can he get this? Well, he can't. It's a much better effort than the previous ones, but it's just not Nicky Little's day when he's kicking at the uprights. Let's see what he can do now with ball in hand as he looks around for support. Johnston was the supporting man, but again he takes the challenge. Richard Hill. Chesney says, anybody coming to help, or is it up to me? Well, he's got the support now, but it was still up to him as he scrambles 3 metres. Williams to Bailey. He shaped to kick, but then took the tackle and gets the put in.
Neither of them wanted to get there. Good forward. I can't, I've done it.
Gomersall shrieking there, felt that Alex Brown and Henry Ball combined to keep Bailey in the air. Can't believe that that's not a turnover. Plenty of theatrics there.
Should say, there you can see him, that Delroy Dupree has come on for Gloucester to replace Chris Forty. Scored a try on his competitive debut for the club against Sale last week. A couple of caps for South Africa as well. Looked good when he came on.
Quite dynamic ball carrier, isn't he?
Sorrell's pass to Johnston. Kidd is waiting, but it's given to Hill first. In fact, Kidd doesn't have it. It's on to win it. And Garvey makes the tackle. Williams, opposite number Gomersall, was waiting for him and slammed the door in his face. It's a good confrontation there between the two scrum half. Now, Kidd was playing scrum half there. Now it's Russell.
One man about 40 metres away. Saracens are going to have to come short side.
Yeah, it's all bunching on this side. They know it, and they're going for it. Little didn't take the ball with him. Referee says play on. Came off a Gloucester player. Williams. Bailey. Chesney now as Saracens push for the score to get them right back into the match. But they don't have the ball now as Gloucester get the put in. And once again, that Gloucester defence stands firm.
Well, I'm afraid it was helped there by the total lack of shape. Saracens wide game there. You can see we're blank at the moment in the second half. They had good territory there, Saracens, but they had one man in about 60 metres of space and about 6 blokes standing flat. They got the ball back, and again they had dribs and drabs of men. If Gloucester had turned it over, they had about a 10-to-1 overlap.
There's Dave Ellis. By the way, it wasn't just the ringtone he changed on his phone to the French national anthem this week. Apparently arrived at the club on Monday morning, windows down in his car, blaring it out the windows. Very proud of his involvement with the French team, and they are very happy to have him. And so are Gloucester. Ryan and Nigel Melville making up the men in charge. And John Mitchell enjoying this Premiership match as well.
Coming through, good. Oh, no. Thanks, back on. Hold, engage.
A good scrum from Saracens.
Just a slip.
Crowd enjoyed that. Not many do that to Gloucester. Elvis Vizagi has done it to a few in his time, though. 29 caps for South Africa.
Engage.
Former chartered accountant. This is Paramore to Gomersall.
Look! Stay back!
Hazel McRae. This will be Kids. Bailey. Got to do a lot of work here. He's doing it through 2 tackles and then Vickery.
Let it come! Stay back.
Here's Russell. Hill.
Let him go, Paul, let him go!
Just loves it, doesn't he, Richard Hill? Just loves being involved. Gomersall takes the ball out. whatever the game, 100% from Richard Hill.
And Saracens, you know, are getting some possession now, and they're just muscling their way back into it. It's not pretty, it's not that confident, but they're getting some ball. And Gloucester's spark of about 6-7 minutes ago seems to have faded at the moment. They are controlling the ball. They just need some sort of score.
Was slapped down by Skirving. Winnan showing his strength there. He can get rid of these injuries. Winnan certainly proved his early years at Saracens, still very young, of course. What a good prospect he is. Johnston, he's still a good prospect, if you like. He's coming out of that territory now, Ben Johnston, but he's fallen away from the England picture. Of course, another player with many injury problems in his career, Johnston. The strength of the tackling there. Jake Ball with that tackle for Gloucester, setting the mark for his team, the captain. Then Gummersall went in, but he couldn't smuggle the ball back. Haven't had any points in this second half, but it's not lacked interest. Takes a long time to settle for Van der Berg, and that time it was a quick trigger. Had to be.
Well, we're talking about Saracens trying to get the ball and keep control, and you can see they've got 2/3 of possession this second half. They haven't had a lot of penetration, but because of all that ball, they have stopped Gloucester playing their game. And because of that, Saracens aren't being stretched in defence, and they're staying in this game. And Gloucester, they've wanted to go through the gears, but they're just not getting the possession to do that.
Russell to Hill. Beautiful line-out, right on the money.
Line-out's worked pretty well this half, hasn't it, for Saracens? They've done well.
Gloucester having to roll their sleeves up here up front. Saracens pack have offered a lot in this second half. Sorrell nearly through again. There's a little skirmish on the far side the touch judge is trying to sort out. That's why we haven't got as many players as we should involved around the ball. Players have sorted it out themselves now and return to the action. Little. Chesney. Williams, the scrum half, has to join the ruck, so he needs help. Comes from Russell. Sorrell. Deflection from Brown. Falls for Garvey. Winnan says, I'll have you. You have to with Garvey, otherwise he's away. Tackle has to be made straight away. McRae going along, and Simpson. Daniel is chasing this, and for 1 second that bounce looked as if it might be heading back Gloucester's way. And with Delray Dupree quickly out of the blocks as well. And 2 worrying moments there for Saracens.
Duncan McRae decides it's time for Gloucester to take some territory. He takes a big chunk of it. Ben Johnson actually has read that quite well and got deep there. But the good of Saracens has been retention. The not so good has been their inability to really penetrate. A bit from Sorrell and Johnston, otherwise a struggle.
Stay wide. Scrum half, stay wide. Don't come in.
Here we go again then with Russell.
Just wait, please, wait. Drop the 7.
Gloucester going to make a change first, though. It's Peter Buxton. 5 starts for him last season, 11 this season in the Premiership. A much better time of it. Andy Hazel had his injury problems. And he's replaced today by Buxton. He was unlucky to be left out, but it just shows how much Gloucester have in the back row. And Emiliano Bergamaschi's come on for Saracens. Referee says penalty for some pulling at the line out.
Pulling. They're only 4. The prop standing out. Another prop standing out. Yeah.
Bergamaschi for Sparks. So the other game being played today, Bath have got there 16-12. They've beaten the Sale Sharks, and that means that Bath are guaranteed a top 3 spot at the very least. They're going for automatic Twickenham qualification, though, and that will help in that quest.
They don't waste their tries, do they, Bath? They keep it tight.
They've had a good nerve this season. Been involved in many tight games, especially recently against London Irish, those 2 matches. But they're on the winning side of the fence on each occasion, as they have been again today. Well taken by Sorrell, not the tallest man, but kept his eye on the ball. There was plenty of men all around him. There's a real forest there, and he came through with the ball. Now Little is going cross-field. And Winnan is a big man, and he got up there to take that catch. And Saracens driving and arriving very quickly here. Williams again. Little. Russell just seemed to slow a little the attack, and there was no real need for it to do that. Johnston. Williams. Russell. Vanna Lewis tackle. Russell again. No change on this side until the big men arrive.
Hands off Gloucester! Still in, no, still in.
Winnan. Bizagi.
Hands off Rook. Balls out.
Williams again. Got away from his own man, avoided the accidental offside.
Still there.
6 phases. Can they make it count with a try? On the ground is Chris Chesney, is certainly hurt. The Saracens are man down in this attack. Bergamaschi gets in.
Richard Hill's gone very wide to take on Simpson Daniel, perhaps in a cross-field kick. Tall man against a short man.
He's on the touchline and waiting. He's normally involved in this area of the game. And Gloucester secure possession as Saracens lost their way. Now Chris Chesney has a chance to receive some treatment.
Saracens had secure ball there, and just as if no one said, right, let's take on the responsibility. This is where the position started. Simpson Daniel out jumped by Sorrell, and then there was another good crossfield kick where Winnan got the better of Marcel Garvey. You think if Gloucester have a weakness defensively, perhaps it's the height of their 2 wingers who are susceptible. And kicking has been perhaps the way they've made most ground. This is a good kick from Nicky Little, and you can see Winnan against Garvey. He's got the height. He's lucky actually there's an accidental offside there, but the drive is good from the kick, but then the pace of it goes. There's no quick ball at all. It's always secured. Morgan Williams is tapping his head. It's obviously a call, but that 3-4 seconds they take to make the call to decide what they're doing is just allowing Gloucester to reorganise. There's no quick ball.
Well, poor old Chris Chesney is being taken from the field. No Saracens player has appeared more times in the Premiership than this man, Chris Chesney. And Ryan Peacey comes on as his replacement in that back row.
Still in the middle of the pitch, Alex. Just stand up, please.
Well, I hope that's not too serious for Chris Chesney. Now, Richard Hill was out on the touchline. We've seen him score tries many occasions out wide in those situations, but he was just the kind of man to be at the breakdown, to take control and show that leadership.
But I mean, there's one thing a scrum half should be doing, it is bossing that situation. And too often Williams just goes over to secure ball and someone else comes and they're not certain, whereas Gomersall has bossed that scenario. Nobody at Saracens has, and you can see second half action area, it's all Saracens, but they haven't really threatened the try line.
Free kick, chance here.
I didn't say anything.
Williams gives it to Yandel.
Rock ball.
Williams again. Little.
Rock ball. Stay there.
Bergamaschi.
Release tackler.
Williams.
Winnan's wide now on this side, Mars, for the cross kick.
Well, they've got to use it sooner or later, but no, Little rejects it and goes with Sorrell. The ball stays towards the floor. The referee says holding on, and Gloucester have a penalty. Aside from that break from Sorrell towards the end of the first half, which was finished off by Morgan Williams, Saracens have just not got their backs going.
No, they haven't, but they haven't got quick enough ball. Gloucester have been able to slow it down, and Johnson's made one break in the second half, but there hasn't been imagination, and they haven't had the power up front to really drive tight and suck Gloucester in. So Dave Ellis's defensive system stays wide and in control.
Just to mark your card again for next week. What a weekend in store of European rugby in the Heineken Cup and also in the Parker Pen Cup. Just let you absorb it all. And what a finish to the weekend. London once against Gloucester. You certainly can't afford to think about that just yet today. Job to finish here.
I'll tell you what, Miles, Gloucester are going to have to find an awful lot more at the Causeway Stadium, Wickham, if they're going to put Wasps out of the Heineken Cup on this form. They are very short. Doing enough to win maybe, but they haven't had enough ball. They're not able to control it, and the precision required isn't there at the moment.
But with the prize such a big one in the Heineken Cup, you get the feeling that both clubs will find an awful lot more. What a contest that is going to be between London Wasps and Gloucester next Sunday afternoon. It's Wasps going into it with better form in the Premiership. No doubt about that. Although Northampton might have something to say about that tomorrow. Intriguing match. But let's concentrate on this one, which is now inside its final 10 minutes.
Great turnover from Ryan Peaty there. Gloucester lose what little ball they've had again.
Little for winning. Touched the line and then a wink to the touch judge as he crossed over. Well, the crossfield kick did come in the end, but it was almost in the wrong circumstance.
Yeah, 50 metres further downfield, putting it on the goal line, catch that and dive over as it is. It's just a little bit too long. It's a good idea. Needed a bit more height and a bit more depth, really. But it is amazing, isn't it, this second half. Gloucester had 2 minutes of ball where they stretched Saracens. Apart from that, it's been all Sarries.
Oh, Jake Bohr, uncharacteristic that.
He's had a poor game today, you know. He's given penalties away. He's knocked ball on, and it's not like Jake Bohr.
I think he was just down a couple of minutes ago, receiving treatment, which might excuse that one, but looking at the whole of the game, Jake Bohr, as you say, hasn't been at his best today by a long way, and he does set a very high standard.
Oh yeah, and you can say the same for the whole of this Gloucester team. They're one of the most exciting teams in the Premiership. They started well, they looked sharp, but they've just run out of ball. And look at this scrum.
Almost shoved off the ball here. And Paramore in reverse. And still sliding through the mud. McRae. Here comes Kidd, but it won't reach the fullback. It's Sorrell who has to take charge, and as he so often does, he makes a solid catch in a very difficult situation. Little to Johnston, going for the handoff. Dropping the ball though, Little. Buxton with the tackle.
Another penalty against Gloucester.
And Williams takes it and runs into Vickery, who was claiming he wasn't trying to touch him, and Williams allowed to go on by the referee and by Vickery. Richard Hill in midfield. Pushed back by Alex Brown. Saracens need 2 scores, so they need one of them quickly. Time running out. Yandel goes in.
Too many bodies, fellas.
Saracens to put in. But do they believe they can get this try?
Yeah.
Well, Gloucester are still defending comfortably, which when you consider for 25 minutes or so they've been without the ball, it isn't a great testimony to Saracens' attacking capabilities. You can see Gloucester making a lot of tackles in the second half, but most of them have been comfortable tackles. I can think of one by Alex Brown that really mattered, and that's about it.
Picked up by Russell.
That's cool.
It's Ben Russell.
Shut up.
Two Russells on the pitch now, of course, with Robbie as well, the hooker. Jake Ball getting back to tackling mode. There is Robbie Russell.
Run forward.
And the knock forward gives Gloucester the ball and all but concedes the match at this stage. Saracens fast running out of available time. Just depends how much the referee is prepared to add on.
Two sides.
There's been quite a lot of injury time in the second half. God, what they do for Thomas Castagnier, though, hey?
Well, they could have Kieran Brackett. He's on the bench today.
But, you know, the last few months, Castagnier has been the one who's sparked this team when they have done something. A little bit of pace, a little bit of invention, a little bit of imagination. It's a Saracens team that has been short on imagination.
Gomersall and Hill in an almighty scrap on the floor there, and now over to Dave Pearson.
Captain, just take your side away, please. Yeah. You might not have made contact, but hell, the intent was there.
And it's a yellow card for Paramore. Referee says no contact, but clear intent. And Gloucester now to spend the rest of the game, probably, with just about the rest of the match, down to 14 men. Junior Paramore into the sin bin.
It was summed up by yet another appalling scrum there. Paramore in, grappling for the ball, and Morgan Williams is, and it's a haymaker. It doesn't connect, but I don't think you can argue with that decision. It's born of frustration, though, isn't it? He's had a hard afternoon. He's played very well today, Paramore, because he's been getting so much ball in the second half scrums, going backwards. I just don't know what's happened to Gloucester in the tie.
Tell you what, Morgan Williams might have a stiff neck in the morning, but he did well to avoid that one.
A little bit of whiplash.
It would have been a lot worse had he not thrown that evasive action.
It would have been red for a start.
Certainly would have been red.
Kobus Vizagi going up, and I tell you what, he has done a very decent job for Saracens today. They haven't lost this game if they are going to lose it because of muscle and determination up front.
Talking very highly of Kobus Vizagi and what he's done since he arrived at this club. Everybody connected with Saracens. Little, can he get the kick at last? Yes, he can! Now, Saracens, a man up. Kafer and Diamond, fingers crossed for their team. At last, Nicky Little, who's missed some simple kicks, really simple kicks today, lands that long one to give Saracens a lifeline here. Gloucester a match they simply have to win to keep up the battle for a top 3 place. And Saracens are within 5 points. They've got a bonus point now if it stays like this, but they're thinking about a morale-boosting win and nothing else. Buxton. Gloucester, who've seen so little of the ball in this second half, are now hanging on. McRae, caught by Hill. Saracens piling in. The crowd right behind them. They brought Winnan over to this side as well. The tactic they've refused to use inside the 22 when they've had the man out wide, but they couldn't get the ball. But they will put in. And there's a fresh energy in the ground now, and also in the legs of these Saracens players.
Duncan McRae tried to give Richard Hill the Matador treatment, but the ball just gored him, and he's given Saracens a match-winning position. That was a time when you didn't want anything fancy. Get the ball in the air, get it over the first wave of advancing defenders, clear your lines. He hasn't, and Richard Hill has given his team quite some position.
Both sets of forwards taking a breather here for the injury break. This is an almighty scrum coming up here. Saracens throughout this second half have been threatening Gloucester with their scrummage. Now can they produce? change as Cornwall comes on for Gloucester.
At Gloucester, there are 6s and 7s here because they haven't got an 8th man in the scrum. There's dissent going on here. Sarries have the extra man. What an end.
Here's the drive. Saracens trying to protect this ball. Williams can see it, encouraging the referee not to blow just yet. It's with Saracens. Referee says no knock on. Bailey must have come off his leg. And it's advantage here to Saracens. The try would level it. They get a penalty. 3 points is no good.
A try levels it, and even if the kick was to be missed, that could be the end of Gloucester's chances in the Zurich Premiership. Now they've got the choice. Do we go for the scrum? How they must wish that Kulbas Vizagi was still on this pitch now. But they have been shunting Gloucester around in the second half.
Or will it be the Saracens' backs at last, creating the move that breaks the game and breaks Gloucester's season, possibly, in the Premiership? Well, first of all, it's the forwards, and it crumples under the sheer pressure as Gloucester put everything into it, realising they have to leave here with a win.
I think Richard Hill's talking to his scrum half there. It would be ironic, wouldn't it? Saracens so short of inspiration outside, so long on guts up front if the backs were to win it. What a position, what an end to this game.
Both sides fidgeting here, tense. This will take some setting, this scrum. And Winnan still stays wide. So wide, he's not on the pitch. Waiting for the crossfield kick.
I don't believe in the 82nd minute that's the first option.
Good response from Gloucester. They didn't give an inch there.
He's on his own, you know.
Williams, Little, won't have time to kick it. As up come Gloucester. Cornwall was up quickly there. That was a good tackle from Gummersall. Knocking the ball out of the hands, getting the knock on. Andy Gummersall. Got to squeeze in your man of the match.
Yeah, I mean, it looks now as if Gloucester might just hang on for the win, but I'm going someone from the losing team. I think Richard Hill has been inspirational for Saracens in the second half, especially. He really has muscled them back into the game. Great intelligence, great determination. You wouldn't believe he was in Paris so disappointed last week when England couldn't beat France. He's come back in a game that to him you wouldn't think had much at stake, but he has been superb. This sort of tackle inspires your team. He's had a wonderful game.
Hill's hallmark to return and play at that level, that international level for his club. Same used to be said of Martin Johnson.
Yeah, he's demanded it over the forwards around him, hasn't he? He's demanded his sort of effort.
And there's a Gloucester penalty.
He's just gone straight through.
And is that what finally cracks Saracens? They've given a lot in this second half. Just falling short though. Maybe.
It will be a huge sigh of relief for Gloucester because they have been extremely poor for the last 50 minutes of this match. A team that wasn't 11th in the table with a bit more confidence would have put Gloucester away today.
Gloucester's final 3 fixtures against Irish, Wasps and Bath.
They came here to get the win. They should do that now, but they'll go away still with plenty to think about.
Well, they have to protect this ball
Keep it moving, 9.
as if their Premiership season depends on it, which it does.
Yes, it does.
And it's not going to emerge from there for a while. Now Gloucester can run down the clock. Buxton shouting the orders. They will run down the clock. And this is excellent play from the Gloucester pack, who've been tested fully in this match, certainly in the second half. But with that last scrum and this drive, they're passing the test. Gummersall, McRae, Paul. A good kick from Henry Paul. Even managed to slow the kick down. So it took a long time to get into touch. Dean Ryan pacing up and down, just wants the points in the bag now. Would have come here thinking maybe with Saracens' position, can we leave with the bonus point as well? Well, thoughts long gone. It's now just about the win.
Now, in the end, it's been a rearguard effort if they get this win.
Alex Brown comes across and makes it, but Richard Hill comes in and steals it back for Saracens. It's Saracens' ball. Williams to Little, to Sorrell, missing out Johnston. Bailey brings it back inside. Run into Fanalua.
They've got to take a risk.
Penalty to Gloucester. They can't take a risk.
That's it.
Because Gloucester have the penalty and surely now have the match as well.
On his feet.
Henry Paul just checks and points to the post. He knew that that would be the decision. And for once in his life, Henry Paul might take his time.
Well, this has been an uncomfortable second half for Gloucester, no doubt about that. One area where you have to give them credit has been their defence. They have withstood anything Saracens have been able to throw at them in the half because they've slowed down ball at source, and Saracens haven't really had the ability or the imagination. Sometimes you've got to grit them out. This is the definition of a gritted win.
So Paul going to finish it off. And he does. That's the final whistle. Gloucester have got the win, much to their relief. They're still very much in the shake-up for qualification to the semi-final, the playoff match, to see somebody through to Twickenham and the final itself. And they also go into their Heineken Cup quarter-final against London Wasps next weekend with a victory. It would have been very difficult for them to lift themselves after defeating this match, but their confidence level will just about be there. They won't be too convinced in their performance, but when they had to dog it out, they got the win. Saracens, brave effort in the second half, but they are a club planning for next season already.
Yeah, I think the Saracens individuals passed their test of playing with great heart and conviction. Hill's return was absolutely vital to their effort this half. He gave them the heart, but they didn't have the quality to go with it. As for Gloucester, I think they came here thinking, let's win, then go for the 5th point. They really didn't have the fluency in attack. They didn't have the ball in the second half. 20 minutes from the end, they knew it was a game they were going to have to dog out and win. In the end, they barked loud enough. They got the win. It wasn't pretty from Gloucester, but they'll take the 4 points.
So 4 points that Gloucester really had to get. They've got it now, and they can concentrate on their Heineken Cup quarter-final next weekend with a bit of a smile too. And on the touchline, Andy Gummersall, one of their heroes, is with Graham.
Miles, thank you very much indeed. Andy, well done. The bottom line was you had to come here and win, and you did that. Was it a little too close for comfort, though?
It was, and it's on television. You've got to make it like that. No, we're disappointed with it being too tight. We went into a good lead in the first half, and then just in the second half, we just didn't seem to have the ball. Saracens played all the rugby, and we just defended for our lives. So, we are delighted with the result, considering last week.
When on the plus point, as you said there, the defence was outstanding. Any ideas why you had to defend that much, though? Because in the first half, you were going much better.
We had few opportunities straight from the second half, and we just didn't keep the ball. We kicked it away, kicked possession away, and when you do that against a side like Saracens, they're going to play. That you give them the ball, they're going to play. And we're just thankful for our defence that held up throughout the game.
Saw Gloucester play last week against Sale Sharks. You made a very slow start. The converse was true today. You were very quick out of the blocks. Was that something that you consciously talked about this week to make a fast start?
Well, you got to make a fast start. You come to away games. You've got to take it to them. If you just sit back and wait for something to happen, you're going to get beaten. And ultimately, that first 20 minutes has won us the game. We've held on for 60 in defence, and we're just thankful, glad to be back in a Gloucester shirt, and I've got a smile on my face.
Is your form collectively, though, Andy, going to be good enough to carry you through to the playoffs? We know how tight it is with Gloucester and Northampton. If you're carrying on playing like that, you're not going to get there, are you?
Well, we've got to get better, that's for sure. But at the same time, as you say, we're waiting for other people to slip up. But we'll keep the pressure on. We'll keep improving. Got a massive game next week, and plenty to play for until the end of the season.
Thanks for your time, Andy.
Well, a win is a win. But they didn't exactly pillage Vicarage Road, did they?